Hello everyone. Let's start with the concept of postmodernism. And to understand what postmodernism is, we must get through what modernism is in critical philosophy. Because postmodernism is nothing but what came after modernism. So, modernism in critical philosophy, this idea can be traced back to the period of enlightenment. And key attributes that can be associated with modernism are reason, scientific progress, universal truth, democracy, secularism. So all such ideas, they are part of modernism. But then these ideas are started facing resistance after Second World War because of events like Holocaust and colonialism. So skepticism, it grew. Modernism, it also provided many universal ideas, universal truth like grand narratives कि grand narratives जैसे हर बीमारी का एक इलाज, a pill for everything, one size fits all. So such grand narratives, these structure they are facing strong resistance from some quarters, and especially जब ये holocaust, colonialism, imperialism, capitalism, and all such ugly hydra they started appearing in a reviled way. तो फिर उसके against उसके resistance में postmodernism arose, and they started attacking everything, attacking all the ideas of modernism. The first challenge, they started challenging the very idea of objectivity and linear progress. अब linear progress का concept ये है, modernism it assumed that हर एक इंसान का एक ही purpose है, that is to progress in a scientific and material way, and they considered it to be a universal truth or a grand narrative. और यही चीज पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म में it started facing resistance, क्योंकि हर एक का ये पर्पस नहीं हो. कुछ लोग बिना साइंटिफिक प्रोग्रेस के या मॉडरेट साइंटिफिक प्रोग्रेस के या और किसी ऑल्टरनेटिव में जीना चाहेंगे. फिर ऑब्जेक्टिविटी. तो पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म जो है ये सिर्फ क्रिटिकल फिलोसफी ही नहीं है, ये आर्ट के अंदर भी है, लिटरेचर के अंदर भी है, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी के अंदर भी है. ठीक है. तो बहुत सारे डिसिप्लिन्स के अंदर ये जो सेम आइडियाज हैं, दे स्टार्टेड challenging the idea that ruled from the period of enlightenment, which is around 15th 16th century up to the second world war. तो उसमें ये एक आइडिया ये भी था ऑब्जेक्टिविटी. So objectivity is like, uh, if you are studying anything and you are arguing that you can come up with certain answer like yes or no, कि if this particular thing is working, if this idea, if this language is good or not, then you can come up with an answer yes or no, which is not right. You cannot uh, you cannot talk about in such binary manner. Like simple question मैं पूछता हूँ, जो पावर स्ट्रक्चर अभी यूनियन गवर्नमेंट में है, इज इट गुड और बैड? तो यस और नो का आंसर नहीं मिल सकता, ऑब्जेक्टिविटी नहीं हो सकती. इन द सेम वे, जो कॉम्प्लेक्स ह्यूमन बिहेवियर है, यू कैन नॉट डाइसेक्ट ह्यूमन बिहेवियर इन सच ऑब्जेक्टिव मैनर. सब्जेक्टिविटी होगी, बायसेस होंगे. इवन जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है, वन हु इज आस्किंग क्वेश्चन विल हैव हिज ओन पर्सनल बायसेस. So subjectivity will be there. And as long as some subjectivity will be there, the truth will stay unfixed. And in general sense, we do not know what truth is. It's like interpretation of truth with personal subjective bias. Everyone has their own story of truth. So, in that sense, truth is nothing but a discoverable entity, a discoverable interpretation, which is a human made construct. Finally, in the language of postmodernism, what we believe to be true is shaped by our culture, historical condition, language, and power structure, which is it is both subjective and prone to multiple interpretation. And that's the ultimate definition of truth given by postmodernism. Truth is subjective and prone to multiple interpretations. Then Jean-François Lyotard, a French philosopher, he best captured the postmodern spirit by saying postmodernism means incredulity towards meta-narratives. Incredulity means non-belief, not believing in. And meta-narrative means universal truth, grand narratives. So postmodernism in simply means they do not believe in such universal truth. Their skepticism towards big, all-encompassing explanation like rationality, Marxism, or liberal democracy. So all such modernist ideas they came under scanner, and all of them they are looked with a skeptic eye. Thus, postmodernism emphasizes plurality, difference, and the fragmentation of human experience. It invites us to look beyond universal solution and focus on local, marginal, and diverse solutions. So, in other words, postmodernism is the opposite of universal. It is local. It is devolved. It is decentralized. Now, the historical context. So, postmodernism emerged after Second World War during 1960s and 70s, which is a period marked by decline of colonial empire, civil rights movement, student protest, and growing disillusionment with grand political ideologies. Then Holocaust, Vietnam War, nuclear tension, they further discredited the modernist faith in reason and progress. Because all of these ideas were not uh, providing any positive outcomes. अगर ऐसा होता तो वियतनाम वॉर नहीं होता, होलोकास्ट नहीं होता, colonialism, capital exploitation, nuclear tensions, ये सब नहीं होते. So these grand narratives, these meta narratives, they are not no longer working. The scientific reason, the belief in human rationality, all of these, they are proving that they have a certain limit, and after a certain fracture point, they do not yield anything that comes closer to positivity. So, because of all these events, philosophers in art, architecture, literature, critical theory, anthropology, in natural and social sciences, they began questioning traditional idea of meaning, truth, and representation. Now, the key features of postmodernism. The first one is rejection of universal truth. So in the modernist idea, there is a single rational way to understand reality, a one pill for everything, which can be accessible through science and reason. Which, in other words, it means that modernism, they have an answer for everything, and their answer lies in their strong belief in science and reason. Whereas postmodernism, they insist that there are multiple truths. There is no single truth, even if they believe in science and reason. And each truth is valid within its own cultural and historical context. It's like cultural relativism. If you want to look at any culture with your own way, like a Bodhi tribe is there, Bodhi tribe in Africa. So उस tribe में growing fat bellies, pot bellies is a sign of masculinity, a sign of attraction, a sign of prestige, status. Now, आज के जो modern society में हम लोग we try to um, reduce everything. We try to get slim. We try to get fit. But यहाँ पे उस tribe में pot bellies, fat, obese person, they are favored. तो अब यहाँ पे जो मेन स्ट्रीम नैरेटिव है उससे देखेंगे तो दिस होल थिंग माइट लुक लाइक ए कॉमेडी, अ बोगस थिंग, बट विच इज नॉट. उनका ट्रूथ अलग है, हमारा ट्रूथ अलग है. दे आर मल्टीपल ट्रूथ, मल्टीपल इंटरप्रिटेशंस ऑफ एवरीथिंग. दैट इज द फर्स्ट फीचर ऑफ पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म. Second feature is language and discourse. So here, Jacques Derrida's idea of deconstruction, it shows that language does not simply reflect reality. Language construct a reality. So any reality is never fixed. We gave them the reality. People, by the use of language, they create the reality, and the reality is always shaped by context. Example is given here, like terrorist, patriot, development. They are not neutral description. Neutral here means they do not mean the same thing for everyone. But these are such loaded terms, and they serve certain political agendas. So even if you draw out the political angle here, these terms, terrorist, patriot, and development, they mean the different connotation for different people. Like जो टेररिस्ट हैं उनके लिए दे आर पेट्रियट, जो पेट्रियट हैं उनके लिए दूसरे जो है वो टेररिस्ट. नाउ जो भी मीनिंग है टेररिस्ट एंड पेट्रियट की, ये मीनिंग ये क्रिएट की गई है बाय द लैंग्वेज. लाइक if some men, they held guns in their hand, and because of that visual, the language construct them that such people who have guns in their hand with the purpose in their mind, and in order to fulfill their purpose, they want to kill certain innocent people. That's the idea of terrorist. Now this thing, it may mean different for different people, where again the play of language, you can see here the framing of illegal migrant versus asylum seekers. Now दोनों सेम चीज है. Both are people who are seeking refuge in different country. लेकिन how you label them, अगर उन लोगों को आप illegal migrant declare कर देते हैं, then you will face a domestic and political backlash. And यही उनको asylum seekers, then people will have a neutral outlook towards them, or maybe a favorable one, but at least a negative outlook will not be there. Same terrorist and patriot में है. If you declare someone a patriot, then people will have a favorable outlook, a warm and embracing outlook towards them. And अगर उनको terrorist declare करते हैं, तब अगर negative outlook, तो यहाँ पे the truth is nothing but a play of words, a play of language. Now the third, power and knowledge. In the third feature, Michel Foucault made a crucial contribution by arguing that knowledge and power are intertwined. And in that way, schools, hospitals, prisons, they do not just regulate behavior, they produce way of knowing and categorizing people. In certain way, knowledge, it doesn't only provide power, but power stems from knowledge. It means a vice versa rule. आगे देखते हैं कैसे है. Here, the classification of individuals as deviant or normal, it is not scientific truth, but political act tied to maintaining certain power relations. And दूसरा example लेते हैं इसका. These institutions, schools, hospitals, colleges, universities, religious institutions, media, all of these institutions, they create a narrative of inherent power, a narrative of inherent hierarchy in such a way that that hierarchy seems natural. Like if people from their birth, they have been taught a certain religious idea, like जो हमारे हिंदू religion में भी है, that the caste system, it is divided on the basis of four varnas, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. So it's nothing but a narrative that is trying to justify this class hierarchy, so that people just accept it. People do not counteract it. In the same way, uh, the latest Oxfam report, the Oxfam report of January 2025, and this report, which is titled Takers, Not Makers. So, according to this report, the wealthy 1% of the world, they hold more than 95% of the wealth. So, this statistic, they are holding wealth more than the bottom 95% of people. This is a stark inequality. So it means the 95% of the people, they are just fighting over 5% of the resources. So that's why the cutthroat competition is there. But nobody is questioning it. Why so few people are holding so much wealth? So because the narrative, it has been created by such power, uh, such institution. So that's what power and knowledge, the interaction is. And again, this classifying individuals as deviant or normal, socially acceptable or socially ostracized, so socially good, socially bad people. They are not scientifically true, but they are social or political act, so that certain people or certain behavior, they can be regulated. And in the same way, the Foucault's concept of biopower, which explain how modern state exercise control over bodies and population during health campaign, and population censuses. So ultimately, the whole thing is there, power and knowledge, its interaction. Now, the fourth principle, fragmentation and pluralism. So postmodernism, it celebrates diversity and fragmentation because diversity and fragmentation, it is directly proportional to having multiple faces of truth, multiple interpretations of truth. क्योंकि अगर सच जानना है, you have to look it by a multiple way, multiple angles. That's how you can arrive at the real truth. और वो तभी होगा when you look at diversity as a, a treasure that hold such pieces of such bites of multiple truth. And postmodernism sees identity as fluid and multiple rather than fixed and singular. So again, no universal idea, no fixed idea. Everything is fluid. In the same way, uh, politics, it often identify people by gender, ethnicity, religion, nationality. But एक टाइम पे एक ही आइडेंटिटी पे फोकस करती है. But in reality, someone might be a feminist, a Muslim, an African, and socialist all at once. So the identity is fluid. Even if the language and discourse, it try to construct the identity in a polarized way. जो आज के टाइम में हो रहा है, आइडेंटिटी पॉलिटिक्स, कि पर्टिकुलर पर्सन की पर्टिकुलर आइडेंटिटी फोकस की जा रही है. Like someone is Muslim, so someone is Muslim, but someone may be a feminist Muslim, a postmodernist Muslim, a Muslim that is a student of natural science, a student of anthropology or astronomy or cosmology, and then the same uh, person may be from Bengal, then maybe from a poor family or a rich family. So many such identities crisscross each other, and that's how such fluid identities form. And here, that forms the main idea of pluralism and fragmentation of postmodernism. And finally, this overlaps with themes in multiculturalism and feminist theory. Postmodernism का concept है this particular feature. Now, postmodernism and political theory. So its contribution lies in its critical stance against grand narratives, meta narratives, and its support for difference, diversity, decentralization, skepticism towards universal truth. First significance, it is a critic of ideologies. So grand ideologies such as liberalism, socialism, nationalism that offers one solution for everything, that offer the claim to offer universal solutions, they have been strongly rejected by postmodernism by arguing that simple narratives seek dominance and they often suppress other way of living. Like if you say nationalism, being a patriot is a good way of living, but that's not true. Other can have their own ideas and they are equally liable to live a meaningful life. Nobody, no such idea can judge them. No one can tell them if their way of life, if their thoughts, they are good enough. And for instance, Lyotard, he critiques how capitalism promotes the myth of growth and how socialism promotes the myth of revolution, both trying to universalize particular experience. Now, what myth of growth is? So capitalism, it says life is a race. आप कोशिश करते रहिए. You need to be consistent, try day and hard. Success will be yours. So ये जितने भी narratives हैं, to keep pushing yourself, to the inequality is good, run after money, run after materialism. So all such ideas, all myth of growth, they are propounded and spread by capitalism. And then socialism, it says that the workers of the whole world, they should unite and throw away the bourgeois, throw away the capitalism, the myth of revolution. And both are trying to picture the universal, the whole world in a universal way, in a singular way. And that's not true. दुनिया के सारे लोग कैपिटलिस्ट नहीं है. दुनिया के सारे लोग कैपिटलिस्ट या सोशलिस्ट प्रमोटर्स नहीं है, सपोर्टर्स नहीं है. Now, the next significance, politics of difference. So postmodernism, it supposed politics of difference, politics of diversity, by recognizing the uniqueness of each groups and individual. And here, Chantal Mouffe and Ernesto Laclau, they argue that political struggle should not aim for a uniform consensus, but it should respect conflict, difference, and pluralism. It means if people are diverse and people are given ways to live on their own or to reflect their own ideas, then there will be multiple conflict, even mini conflict or micro conflict, conflict at daily level, conflict in mind, conflict in personal things, conflict in thoughts. So all such conflicts should be respected. Uniform idea, uniformity is is not good at all. Like in evolution b, uniformity is like we have we are reaching closer to death. जब तक डाइवर्सिटी रहेगी नेचुरल सिलेक्शन वर्क करता रहेगा. जब तक डाइवर्सिटी रहेगी लाइफ जिंदा रहेगी, कोई भी स्पीशीज जिंदा रहेगी. बट जैसे ही यूनिफॉर्मिटी आएगी, इफ all the members of a species they have the same genes, same characters, same fitness, तो फिर it's like they all of them they have boarded a sinking boat. या तो सबके सब एक साथ ही पार होंगे, या सबके सब एक साथ ही ईश्वर से मिल जाएंगे, बट बचेगा कोई. तो यूनिफॉर्मिटी इज इज लाइक दैट. तो यहाँ पे जो पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म है उनका आइडिया अबाउट रेस्पेक्टिंग कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, डाइवर्सिटी, डिफरेंस एंड प्लूरलिज्म, it is good one. And their concept of agonistic pluralism, it reflects a postmodernism political ethic. Then next significance is on focus on micropolitics. So again, if people are diverse and if you have given them a leeway, given them a lease to bring out their own version, तो यहाँ पे फिर पॉलिटिक्स जो होगी वो मेगा स्केल पे नहीं होगी, मिनी स्केल पे नहीं होगी, माइक्रो स्केल पे, micro politics between individuals. So instead of focusing solely on state power, union power, postmodernism, it encourages looking at everyday sites of power, like school, hospitals, neighborhoods, families. So this local or small scale action, they can uh, they can have equally important significance at political level. And here, Foucault's work on microphysics of power, it help explain why activism today often take decentralized and network form, which is nothing but आज का जो एक्टिविज्म है, आज का जो पॉलिटिकल मोबिलाइजेशन है, it is not that uniform, not that mega mass mobilization kind of thing. It is a decentralized micropolitic kind of thing. कि लोग जो हैं छोटे छोटे इंटरेस्ट बेस पे, छोटे छोटे इन इशू है उन बेस पे they come together, they bring their idea, and they stay in such decentralized and network form. Now, an interaction between postmodernism and contemporary politics. First, globalization and hybrid identity. The postmodernists, they argue that globalization create hybrid identities. क्योंकि जो people एक साथ आते हैं, mix and overlap, तो यहाँ पे कोई एक कल्चर नहीं होता. There is a assimilation, exchange of key attributes. एक कल्चर का कोई आइडिया है, it is taken up by a different culture, फिर उस कल्चर की कोई अच्छी चीज़ है, that is taken up by us. फिर ऐसे में जो आइडेंटिटीज हैं वो हाइब्रिड होती जा रही है. Then comes media and hyper reality. And this concept, hyper reality, it means presenting something in a fabricated way. So here, the philosopher John Baudrillard proposed the idea of hyperreality, by which he says media representations, they became more real than the reality itself. और वो होता ही है, मीडिया जैसे भी किसी चीज को बहुत मसाला वसाला लगा के ऐसा प्रेजेंट करती है दैट वो चीज जो है वो इट इट अपीयर्स मोर रियल, और उसकी वजह से कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स भी बहुत सारे होते हैं. सोशल मीडिया में देख लीजिए, जो सोशल मीडिया जो वर्चुअल रियलिटी है, वहाँ पे एक इमेज बिल्डिंग थिंग जो चलती है, वो इमेज बिल्डिंग, मैं पॉलिटिक्स की बात नहीं कर रहा, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द पर्सनल लेवल, तो वो भी तो एक अनरियल चीज है. रियलिटी पे लोग वैसे नहीं है जैसे सोशल मीडिया प्रेजेंट कर रहा है। एंड फिर पॉलिटिकल कैंपेन्स पे आते हैं। तो पॉलिटिकल कैंपेन्स टुडे often rely more on image building through social media than relying on substantive political policy discussion. So people, they are likely, they like behaving, they like presenting an identity and an image that is not real. तो यहाँ पे उस इमेज बिल्डिंग के चक्कर में दे आर नॉट लिविंग अप टू द रियल वर्क फॉर विच दे हैव बीन इलेक्टेड, policy discussion, debate, and deliberation. This is a post-truth era where emotional appeal outweigh factual reporting. और होता ही है। फिर environmental movements, so postmodernist ideas support decentralized community-based environmental activism. So here again, they do not believe in one-size-fits-all universal solution, but emphasize local knowledge, indigenous practices, and grassroots movement. Now, the criticisms was relativism. The critics argue that postmodernism's rejection of universal truth, it lead to a moral paralysis. Moral paralysis कैसे? If everything is not true, if nothing is true, or if all truth are relative, फिर तो सवाल ये आता है कि सच क्या है, व्हाट इज ट्रूली ट्रू। क्योंकि यहाँ पे फिर हम एक वी आर स्टेयरिंग एट अ डेड एंड। क्योंकि अगर सब कुछ ही रिजेक्ट हो गया तो फिर हम किस चीज पे एक्ट करें। तो फिर उसमें एक सवाल आता है जो कल्चरल रिलेटिविज्म से जुड़ा हुआ है कि अगर सभी कल्चर जो है इफ दे आर इक्वली ट्रू देन हाउ कैन वी यूनिवर्सली कंडेम ह्यूमन राइट अब्यूसेस। क्योंकि बहुत सारे कल्चर्स हैं जहाँ पे कल्चरल प्रैक्टिसेस के नाम पे फीमेल जेनिटल म्यूटेशन होता है, फीमेल जेनिटल म्यूटिलेशन। फिर बहुत सारे कल्चर्स में है वहाँ पे फीमेल फिटिसाइड भी होता है, फीमेल फिटिसाइड। फिर तालिबान की बात करें तो इट्स रेस्ट्रिक्टिव सोसाइटी। ऐसा बहुत बहुत सारे कल्चर्स हैं जहाँ पे कुछ ना कुछ ऐसी ऑड कल्चरल प्रैक्टिसेस हैं विच आर सोशली नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल, यूनिवर्सली नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल। बट अगर हम पोस्ट मॉडर्निस्ट आइडिया की तरफ देखें कि हर कल्चर जो है इट इज रिलेटिव, इट हैज इट्स ओन हिस्टोरिकल एंड ज्योग्राफिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट एंड वी शुड नॉट जज इट। तो ऐसे में जो ह्यूमन राइट्स अब्यूसेस हैं इनके लिए हम क्या करें, ये फर्स्ट क्रिटिसिज्म है। देन सेकंड, पॉलिटिकल इनएक्शन। So if there is a suspicion towards mass mobilization and organized movement, and if postmodernism it is fragmented and decentralized authority, then according to them, all such mass mobilization they are ineffective. तो उसके लिए फिर पॉलिसी एक्शंस कैसे हो, मोबिलाइजेशन कैसे होगा। एंड नेक्स्ट, elitism and obscurity. Some accuse postmodernist writing of being unnecessarily dense and detached of realities of ordinary people, and which is equally true because the postmodernist writing where आप देखेंगे तो there is a technically heavy jargon, dense word, long word, and इन दोनों के लिए simple thing that if mass movements are not supported and if everything is equally untrue, if there are multiple truth, फिर जो जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, जो रियल प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, उनके सोल्यूशन कैसे मिलेंगे। एंड इफ दे आर डिटैच फ्रॉम रियलिटी देन जो मॉडर्न प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनके सोल्यूशन कैसे आएंगे। बिकॉज पोस्ट मॉडर्न आइडिया जो है वो दे आर नॉट सीकिंग एनी सोल्यूशन, दे आर ऑफरिंग डिसेंट्रलाइज अप्रोच, they are talking about subjectivity, they are talking about multiple interpretations, and they want the authority to be devolved। फिर लोगों की जो फ्लूइड आइडेंटिटी उनके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, प्लूरलिज्म के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, बट अल्टीमेटली द वर्ल्ड इट वर्क्स ऑन सोल्यूशन। अगर प्रॉब्लम्स हैं लाइक क्लाइमेट चेंज है, पैंडमिक्स हैं, इट नीड सोल्यूशन, solutions are not being offered by them। Finally, important thinkers, first, Jean-François Lyotard, who criticized grand narratives, then Michel Foucault, who talked about power, knowledge, relationship, micropolitics, and biopolitics. And finally, Jacques Derrida talked about deconstruction, instability of meaning, and critique of binary opposition. And now, अगर कोई चीज छूट गई है that I might not have gone through in a good way, you can drop the comments. वो मैं और अच्छे से explain कर लूँगा. And I need your support. Kindly subscribe as much as you can. Talk to your fellows, spread the word. और आने वाले टाइम में यूजीसी के यूपीएससी के दोनों के वीडियो ऑप्शनल के मैं वो रिकॉर्ड कर लूंगा, दोनों ऑप्शनल के एंथ्रो और पीएसआईआर दोनों के. So for that I need your support. This is it. Thank you.